stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Trustee here. Here. Trustee Hein.
Here.
Trustee Argyris.
Here.
Trustee Vogel.
Here.
Trustee Lang.
Here.
Trustee Brady informed the board he would not be here this evening. President Evans-Cotta.
Here. Approval of the minutes of the special meeting of October 22nd.
So move.
Second.
Motion made by Trustee Adjira, second by Trustee Vogel. Roll call, please.
Trustee here.
Yes.
Trustee Hein.
Yes.
Trustee Argyris.
Yes.
Trustee Vogel.
Abstain.
Trustee Lang.
Yes.
President Evans-Cotta.
Yes. Mr. Fondilis, any changes to the agenda?
No, Madam President.
There are no changes to the agenda. Citizens' concerns and comments.
Mr. Stylen.
Thank you, Madam President and trustees. I see that item B on the agenda tonight is discussion of some things that relate to street lighting along Dundee Road. And I would just ask that in part one, phase one of that determination, that project, there's an issue on pole and fixture selection. And I would just ask that the Plan Commission be involved in that endeavor. They spent a lot of time last year looking into those things, and I think it would be appropriate and nice if you would ask them. Secondly, we had the transportation plan submitted to us last week for review, and it was an excellent job. John and Mark, your guys did an absolutely outstanding job. And I don't know if the trustees have seen it yet, but when you do, be prepared to really be impressed. It was a really nice job. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Covina.
Good evening, trustees and Madam President. My name is Ms. Covina. I'm a transsexual and a transgender. We have a little bit of concerns about discrimination and racial down profiling. When someone, an authority, comes up to us, like us, and calls us what we used to be a long time ago, that is very degrading and discriminating and also embarrassing. I would like, the Wheeling Police is trying to do everything as possible. I'm giving them credit for that. All the officers and half of the officers are doing it, and some of the officers are doing it. I would just like to be respected as one as a human being, not a sideshow or a freak show. Chief Benson and Deputy Chief John Teethans, Commander Pakagakis is doing their best to, and Sherry Lazar, to give me what my name is now. Sometimes we don't have enough money to change it, but when we have to change it, then we will do so. But the law says we don't have to change we can change our name to anything. Just like a dog, you get a dog or something, and somebody else's dog, you find it, you don't have to pay $1,000 to change your name. You know what I mean? And if I'm I'm a transsexual, a co-op. I don't have enough money for the operation yet, but I'm eligible for Illinois also female birth certificate that will say female on it. And the law says I don't have to have an operation. if I can't afford it. But another thing is, I want to congratulate the trustees and committee and the Police Fire Commission giving police officers awards for Saving a Belt Award and Saving a Life Award. But the only one thing you forgot was Sergeant Michael Conway, Star 74. You did not give him an award because he was there with Dawson saving the life of the girl in Cedar Run. Cedar Run crime is kind of down right now, thanks to the Wheeling Police and people like us, and Officer Duran Swanson, and also the Community Development and the Public Works is stopping Robert Scher booting cars on a village street. He cannot do it. If Robert Scher does this, he's looking for extortion, booting the cars unlegally and justifiably. We pay two managements, Alma and American Property Management. He has no business going on a public street booting cars, but he didn't do it yet. But I've been a liaison to the Wheeling Police Department and given them all the information about Robert Scher. Robert Scher does not have respect for the Wheeling Police Department at all, or the citizens that are parking their cars on a designated lawful street. And I'm thanking the Deputy Chief and the Chief of Police, the traffic unit, Sergeant Hart, for stopping him doing this illegal act of criminology and criminal mentality. And everybody, okay, has been very good to me here, all the trustees, everyone, and the president, the fire chief, been very cooperative. And I'm very helpful being a Wheeling citizen, because I know I will get the right justice here. And if I don't get the right justice, I have to go to court, Supreme Court, and the higher courts and everything. But we want to be treated as a pride person. We're not an interruption to the police department. We're not, I went into the Walgreens. This is a thing. Someone called me, I don't want to repeat the words. And the employees at what's it called, Walgreens, took my side and told those customers, don't say that in our store. Everybody does not have the right to talk like that to people that are in the transgender community.
We appreciate, and the 5 minutes are up. If you have anything further, you can always discuss it with the police.
Yes.
But it seems that you're happy with that, but we're more than happy to talk to you at another time.
Yes, I think so. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you very much.
Yeah,
Thank you.
and the blood drive went very good, and all the police departments and everybody gave blood.
Yep, thank you. We have no staff reports, no consent agenda, no old business, new business.
All items listed for discussion and possible action. 13A, resolution authorizing the village president to sign an intergovernmental agreement in regards to claims adjuster and safety consultant services.
Mr. Fondilas.
Thank you, Madam President. I'm proud to introduce Finance Director Monchain, who will talk in a little more detail about this item. But as we've discussed over the last several weeks, and in fact the last several years, staff continues to look for new and creative ways to not only create efficiencies, but create efficiencies that will save the village money in the way we perform our daily duties. And this was an initiative brought by Director Monchain that will fulfill both of those objectives. And with that, I say thank you and introduce him to discuss this item in particular.
Mr. Monchain.
Thank you, Madam President. As Village Manager Sfondilas just said, the concept before you tonight is something that I've been working with our risk management consultant, Mike Nugent, on for the past year or so. Mike is in the audience tonight, and he's here to answer any questions you might have about it. But I want to just briefly talk about the concept and then answer any questions you might have. Going back in time a little bit, 12 years ago, the village decided to self-insure its general liability and workers' compensation losses. And at the time, we decided that the best way to do that would be by hiring a third-party administrator to manage our liability claims and our workers' comp claims. The reason we did that is because hiring a TPA is a rather inexpensive model, and you get the expertise of the TPA to manage your claims. In the past year, we've spent about $40,000 in contractual fees for the TPA. The downside to that model is that when you hire a TPA, you end up with claim adjusters that have very heavy caseloads. In many cases, they're handling over 200 claims, not just claims of the Village of Wheeling, but also claims of other organizations that they're representing. And as a result, they cannot manage any one particular claim very effectively because they just don't have the time to devote to it. So about a year ago, Mr. Nugent suggested a concept to me that he has implemented with some of the area school districts, and that is pooling our resources with other communities to essentially hire our own claims adjuster as well as a safety coordinator, which is something that we haven't had here in Wheeling. And the concept is that by limiting the caseload for the claim adjuster, they can more effectively manage the claims and help ensure that when employees are injured, they return to work sooner than they would otherwise, which reduces overtime costs and other claim-related expenses as well. They also will have the time to more properly investigate the claims or the accidents or injuries when they occur, which is something that doesn't happen as much as we would like at this point. As I said, this model was implemented with school districts 211, 214, and 225, and it's reduced their claim expenses by between 10 and 20% per year. In the Village of Wheeling, that would equate to about $80,000 to $160,000 a year in savings. In addition to having a claim adjuster with a limited caseload, we would also have a safety coordinator that would work for Wheeling and the other communities that are part of the pool. And the safety coordinator would address safety-related issues before they lead to accidents or injuries and implement a coordinated risk management program. Now, there is a higher upfront cost with this model. It would cost approximately $80,000 for the Village of Wheeling to participate in this as opposed to the $40,000 or so that we're paying now. But again, we believe that based on the experience of the school districts, the savings that we will see will more than offset the cost of participating in this program. So the communities that have committed or are considering committing to the pool right now include the Village of Lombard, the Village of Mount Prospect, and the Metro Risk Management Agency, which consists of 3 park districts, the Schaumburg Park District, Mount Prospect Park District, and Palatine Park District. If approved tonight, we would enter into an intergovernmental agreement with these other agencies that would run for 3 years. And at the end of 3 years, we would, of course, reevaluate and determine whether or not we want to continue with the pool. If it's not successful, we would be under no obligation to continue with it. So with that, I would like to answer any questions you have.
To him, Trustee Juris.
Explain to me the full-time safety coordinator. How would that work, and how would it be full-time?
Essentially, the way this model works is we hire a company that in turn hires both a claim adjuster and a safety coordinator. The safety coordinator would split his or her time among the organizations that are in the pool, working on safety-related issues, working with our departments to ensure that they're following proper techniques and that their buildings and the stations are set up in a way that ensures that we're working safely.
And currently, aren't we taking our own staff and doing that now?
We do that, but we don't have anyone who's specifically dedicated to taking a global look at the organization as a whole. Within each department, there's certainly a lot of effort being made to reduce accidents and injuries and to promote safety, but not in a coordinated manner. And one of the things that I didn't mention is that if the board approves this, the person would be physically housed here, both people, both the claim adjuster and the safety coordinator, because we have space available in Village Hall, we'll be working out of this building. That's something that all of the members of the pool have agreed to. And so we would have the advantage of having that person on site, which is something that the other...
But they would work for the other agencies involved as
they
well?
Wouldn't,
the
yes,
partners.
they would. And the other thing about safety is that, among municipalities, the safety issues are pretty similar.
Sure.
So the things that they implement in another community, they can easily implement here as well, and
Sure.
everybody benefits from that joint effort.
And all that for $80,000?
Our share would be roughly $80,000 a year.
And you're anticipating about $160,000 in savings?
Somewhere between, 10 and 20%, which
Well,
would be...
10% it's a break even.
It's a break even at
Sure.
10%, but, Mike can talk about the school district's experience, but it's been about 20% or so.
Nice job, Michael.
Do we have any other questions? If not, do I have a motion?
So moved. Second.
Motion made by trustee Lang, second by trustee Agiris. Roll call, please.
Trustee Hare?
Yes.
Trustee Hein?
Yes.
Trustee Argyros?
Yes.
Trustee Vogel?
Yes.
Trustee Lang?
Yes.
President Evans-Scotto?
Yes.
Thank you.
Item 13B, resolution authorizing the village manager to execute a civil engineer service contract with Civil Tech Engineering Incorporated.
Mr. Janik.
Thank you, Madam President. Tonight, I've got a proposal for the board to consider relative to Dundee Road street lighting. There's been discussion for numerous years about adding additional lighting to Dundee Road. This contract would provide a consultant to design and obtain permitting for streetlights from Milwaukee Avenue west to the western edge of the village on Dundee Road. The contract and the analysis would include final engineering for the lights, their location, surveying work, environmental, and then the permitting. This contract is not required for the project right now. We are on a list of projects at the Northwest Municipal Conference. However, expenditure of these monies and doing this contract with the drawings will assist in moving this project up the list to being accomplished. So we're requesting consideration of this proposal for engineering work relative to street lighting on Dundee Road.
Trustee Agiris.
Thank you, Mr. Janik. I got to piggyback on Commissioner Steinle's comments. I think here's a great opportunity at this point to do something special on Dundee Road. Instead of the large box lighting that we have up and down Milwaukee Avenue or what they have west of town here in Buffalo Grove. If we're going to do something regarding the streetscape that we've talked about on Dundee Road, let's get it done right the first time. Let's consider future development along Dundee Road on the north side where things aren't being done today or next year or 2 years from now that's going to impact differences of the way we're going to develop things along Dundee Road. Follow what I'm saying? Sure. You got a special thing with Heritage Park being built there. It's going to draw people to this community with the activities and everything that. Let's do something nice with the lighting there, based on their report, based on what the commission has done, and try to coincide that with the engineering firm that we're going to hire here tonight. This is a good thing because we've talked about the lighting for a long time. We saw our neighbors to the west get it, and now we're on the verge of getting it as well. So if you can tie in that commission, look at what they proposed, look at what other towns have done on busy streets. Morton Grove's a perfect example, from Gulf Road to Dempster on Waukegan Road. They've taken a theme there and created a nice streetscape along Waukegan Road for their businesses there. Look at that. Let's think out of the box a little bit and make sure that we're putting these things where it's not infringing on right-of-ways or sidewalks that we want to put there in the future or what have you.
It's a good idea, and Mr. Stylin's comment will be taken into consideration.
Thank you.
Do you have anything, Trustee Vogel?
Just one question, Mark. You mentioned that the total cost is not to exceed $138,000, but then there's another cost factor in there, direct costs such as printing, vehicle expenses, et cetera, will be billed at their actual cost. Who determines whether it needs to be we need a sub-consultant? Is that another direct cost that's going to be billed?
The consultant would let us know if there's other consultants that they need. For instance, if there's, I know that sometimes there's issues relative to environmental soil conditions along right-of-ways, not by our doing, but just because there's roadway salt and oils and that sort of thing that splashes up on the side of the roadway, and IDOT sometimes has different requirements for that soil type. Just as an example, we might have to get a sub-consultant involved in a situation like that, or there might be some other situation. So we'll let you know, we'll keep you apprised if there's any issues like that, in case there's extra cost to be expended.
Have we dealt with something like that before that we could tell? I mean, is that,
I don't see,
is that something that could turn out to be substantial? I mean, I know it's an unknown, but have we ever dealt with anything like that before?
I'm unfamiliar. Christine, have you ever? Okay. Public Works is not familiar with it either.
We're not going to get surprised with a $100,000 kick-in all of a sudden at the end of this project, spending, almost done, and then they're going to come back and say,
Trustee Vogel, all I can tell you is relative to IDOT, there are some regulations and rules that they have that are not exactly rational. For instance, we had to do a study on the rattlesnake, the possibility of rattlesnakes in the forest preserve. That doesn't take into consideration the fact that IDOT parks their vehicles on their own right-of-way in the very same area they asked us to do a study for a potential endangered species. I hope that this won't be too complicated. I hope that this situation, our consultants have taken that into consideration because they've done this before. They've been involved in a few different IDOT projects with lighting. So I'm hoping additional costs like this are being taken into consideration, but I can't guarantee you that there's not going to be an expensive environmental report that we have to do.
is this 138 covered 80/20?
No, it does not.
It is not. So any overrun on this would not also be covered?
This is strictly a consulting cost before we get into the grant itself. Once we get into the grant, that will hopefully be an 80/20 grant. And I think I've put a figure on there, an approximate cost that to the village, if we in fact do get a grant, it's going to be approximately $1 million a mile for the lighting.
Good. Follow up real quick, if I may, Madam President. Just real quick. Maybe check with the folks out west. I mean, they just went through this last year. People in Buffalo Grove. See if they had any issues regarding what Trustee Vogel said.
I can do that.
They dealt with that. I mean, they just did it.
Sure.
Thanks.
Trustee Lang and then Trustee Hein.
Thank you. Mark, there's a few scattered lights along Dundee Road on some of the wooden poles. Is the plan to replace those?
Yes, the plan would be to, I believe the plan would be to take all those down and put up separate freestanding poles on both sides of the road.
Okay. And when we exchanged our lighting to LED in the recent past, wasn't that more efficient for us as well? Isn't that a better lighting system, LED, and something to look at, or is that an option?
It's definitely an option. It's a more expensive option. I believe that the consultant is expecting us to be using something other than LED as part of this, but certainly LED is a potential option to use.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Hein.
Thank you. When we're doing this project, with this lighting project, please take in consideration some of the areas where we do not have any sidewalks at all on Dundee Road, so that we have some type of a plan where we can follow along with it in concert. And maybe we can get two things done at the same time and not step on anybody's toes, but we do have some areas on Dundee Road that have no sidewalks forever, so we should be taking care of that.
Yeah, this lighting design will take into consideration lighting requirements for sidewalks along the roadway as well. It's not just for the roadway, it's for the sidewalks adjacent to the roadway. So if there aren't any sidewalks there, I'm not sure if you're referring to actually us building the sidewalks, but at least there'll be lighting at a foot candle strength that will cover future walkways as well.
Make sure we got the right-of-ways and everything ready to go.
Yes, for
Thank you.
lighting, yes.
Thank you.
Madam President,
Trustee here.
one last question. What's the time frame on something like this? Because this will go on for 10 years.
No, well, the consultant has told us that there are funds available for the lighting, and most of the time, the communities that do get the funding are the ones that do spend this money up front. According to them, they're relatively confident that within a year and a half, if we go through with the study and get the approval, lighting, or within a year and a half, construction could start, grant money could be obtained, and construction could start.
Okay. And the other thing is who would be responsible for the maintenance? Would that then now go back to the village, and we would be responsible for replacing, and if something gets run over, same as our streetlight program in the residential area?
I believe that we would be responsible. I haven't gotten that far, but I believe that we would be responsible for the changing the bulbs.
Okay, thanks.
Do you have any other questions? Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion made by trustee Lang, second by trustee Agiris. Roll call, please.
Trustee Here?
Yes.
Trustee Heim?
Yes.
Trustee Agiris?
Yes.
Trustee Vogel?
Yes.
Trustee Lang?
Yes.
President Abiscato?
Yes.
Item C, discussion regarding review of gaming cafe concept proposed by Laredo Hospitality Ventures.
Mr. Vandopoulos.
Thank you. Over the past 3 months or so, as a result of the state legislation that provided for video gaming in local Illinois municipalities, we've been approached by 3 different operators of a new restaurant concept that's built around video gaming. The one that has been the most active in the Wheeling marketplace has been Laredo Ventures, which is here before you. At the podium is Gary Leff, their CEO. And given the fact that this is a new business model, a new concept that we have not seen before, we've asked for Mr. Leff to present some information about the background about the concept, the background about the company itself, and provide an opportunity for the board to ask any questions about this type of this restaurant.
Thank you.
Great. First, I want to thank the Board of Trustees and Madam President for giving us the opportunity to present tonight. We really appreciate it. We're here tonight to talk about 2 concepts we have, Stella's and Maxine's, both of which we're very interested in opening here in the village of Wheeling. We're actually close to 3 locations, 2 for Stella's and 1 for Maxine's. Before we talk about both concepts, just tell you a little bit about our company. And I'm here with Charity Johns, who's our VP of Operations. We're missing a few of our crew. We didn't want to bring everyone, but collectively, we are a team that's deep in restaurant and hospitality experience with over 50 years, actually 60 years of cumulative experience between us. A couple of projects that you may be familiar with that I've worked on is I was the founder and CEO of Stir Crazy, which is a Pan-Asian concept. Some of you may be familiar with the location in Northbrook Court. It's been there since 1997, so it's had a good 15-year run. And I'm not involved any longer, but hopefully that run will continue. Most recently, I was involved as the lead advisor on the design and development of the consumer front-of-house experience at Rivers Casino. So all the branding, I developed all 8 restaurants and bars in the floor plan, and basically was the lead advisor on the whole project for the consumer experience at Rivers. Charity Johns, who's our VP of Operations, she most recently was with Cozy, which is a sandwich cafe concept with 130 locations across the country. Before Cozy, she was a VP of Operations at Jamba Juice and a senior manager at Starbucks. I'm now going to hand it over to Charity to take you through both concepts.
Good evening, Madam President, trustees. The first concept I'd like to go over with you guys is Stella's. You'll see in the rendering, and I think you have it in front of you as well, it's a neighborhood cafe. It's a gathering place. You'll see that as you enter in the rendering, that is the cafe up front. We've strategically placed the service counter in the center of the environment so that we can serve you at the tables, but also take care of you if you enjoy gaming as your entertainment. You'll see the gaming area is towards the back of the space, and just below the S, you'll see some big cubes, soft seating, if you will, that you can pull over to your partner or your friend and sit next to them while they're gaming and enjoy the experience together. Oh, I'll click to the next slide for you. You'll see there is the gaming right in the back. One of the things that we have done is really personalize the service. And by doing so, we want to get to know the residents of Wheeling, but at the same time, we want to provide an experience while folks are gaming that is really kind of exclusive and special. You'll see that there'll be a swing arm table that'll come out where you can eat and drink while you game, if you so choose. You'll have a place where you can power up, plug your cell phone into, or your iPad, or both. A place to hang your coat, because us women like places for our bags and coats, and also possibly some iPads for just sort of checking, well, there's a game on tonight, you might want to know the score. You'll see that the menu of Stella's is also that of a cafe. I'll pick out a couple of selections for you. It really is small plates that can be shared or enjoyed alone, or together, I'm sorry. You can have sliders. You're probably familiar now with that concept. They're quite popular now. They're sort of, we do them in a trio. You can get a beef slider or a chicken slider. You'll also see that we have individual flatbread pizzas. There's a nice breakfast offering of fresh, fluffy breakfast egg sandwiches with roasted peppers. And then the beer and wine license would be what we'd be looking for to serve. No hard alcohol. It's really a cafe experience. And coffee, beverages, and sodas. You might be wondering who the Stella's guest would be. Who do we think would be using the cafe and the gaming experience? This is a person who really does enjoy this as part of their entertainment. There is an adversity potentially by this person to going into a typical bar environment. They may enjoy not having to go all the way to a casino because they enjoy gaming as their entertainment. And they might want to be able to bring a friend, have a glass of wine, a light bite, a shareable, and then also enjoy the venue. This is a person who appreciates personalized service that we will take care of at the table. We will certainly make sure that we get to know you and invite you back so that it really can be a neighborhood place. It's an adult, probably 35 to 75, my age and slightly older, from the local community. We look for the Wheeling residents really to use the space. It's really supposed to be something people can gather and enjoy. And then most likely female. Not that we don't like the men, they can come too, but it skews mostly female, about 60%. Maxine's is our other concept. Now, it's just slightly different in the way it operates. I would say it's probably got more of a wine bar sensibility to it. If you look at the rendering here, you'll see there's kind of warmer, richer tones. We do plan to also offer that same Laredo hospitality and personalized experience, but at the same time, you'll see that we are going to offer a selection of wines by the glass, wine flights, and certainly it's probably a place I could see enjoying with me and my mom or somebody who would kind of go together. You'll see the menu also kind of skews towards the wine bar. If I pick out a couple items here that potentially you won't find on the Stella's menu, this sets it apart with, you'll see a gourmet cheese platter here, a hummus plate, some crab cakes, slightly more upscale, but just in a different way, if you will. I'm going to turn it back over to Gary. He's going to talk to you a little bit about the folks who worked on the concepts for us and how we came to find those.
We spent roughly the last 6 months in developing these concepts, and we put together what we think is a very strong team in helping us do that. In fact, I don't know if any of you have been down to the Rivers Casino and Des Plaines, but we have used the same architect, DMAC Architecture, which is a local firm. They're terrific. hospitality, spas, casinos, hotels, and Studio Lab, which is a world-class branding firm out of Toronto, to develop what we think are truly unique and special concepts. I'll end it by just saying we're very excited to be part of the Wheeling community, to become part of the Wheeling business community, and just leave you with a few thoughts of why we think the Village of Wheeling should want to have Laredo Hospitality as a local business partner. We're locally owned and operated, so we will be present in our units. We have a passion to deliver only the best experiences. That's what we've been involved with for our career, and we're truly food and beverage people. As Peter mentioned, there are other people poking around to do similar concepts. I'd say the biggest difference is we're really looking at this first and foremost as a restaurant cafe, because that's our background, and that's where we're going to put a lot of our effort into the concept. We think it provides an attractive and unique experience for the residents and visitors to Wheeling. And last but not least, the cafes will generate significant tax revenues for Wheeling. We estimate, based on experience of 2 comparable markets where gaming has been going on for 20 years and 10 years respectively, that would be Oregon and West Virginia, where you have similar concepts, not nearly as well done, we think, on the cafe end and food and beverage end. But we estimate, based on those experiences, that each of our locations will generate roughly $40,000 in gaming tax revenue for the Village of Wheeling. So with that said, I will turn it over now to questions.
Do you have any questions? Trustee Lang.
Thank you. I admit, when I first saw this or heard of this concept, I imagined cheesy, and this is far from it. So I'm glad to see that this concept was taken a step further. One of my biggest concerns, though, is you're locating in some, or plans to locate in some shopping centers that have some experienced or well-known restaurants and local places that do serve alcohol and could be potential customers of gaming as well. And I'm just concerned that they don't get squeezed out.
Yeah, I don't think, again, based on our study of comparable markets, we think this is a different customer, especially a bar customer. Our customer is a customer that's not going to feel comfortable going into a typical bar to game. So they're just not going to game. Again, Charity described that customer being sort of an older, skewing female demographic. And a lot of those customers also they want their own little space where they can go with friends versus going into a restaurant where it's crowded and there's a lot of other people around. So based on our research into other comparable markets, this will not cannibalize existing establishments. It's really additive.
And John, you can answer this for the Village. Would we have limitations, or are there limitations of how many of these gaming locations can be located within a shopping center, for instance?
We do not currently. That's absolutely discretionary, because for this use, it's tied directly to a liquor license, and the board has absolute authority over providing a liquor license. So that's the control that the board has. But to answer your question directly, we do not have anything in our code that says you could not have more than X number of these types of facilities. Just as a point of reference, so far there haven't been any restaurants that I'm aware of, existing restaurants that I'm aware of, that have applied or made notification that they're interested. We do have a number of bar facilities that have made their interests known that they would like to participate in gaming, but no restaurants as of yet.
Okay. And one last question. On your signage, how would you portray this as gaming?
Right. Now that's a very good question. The way we're thinking about it right now is we wouldn't say gaming on the signage. We anticipate a slow build. We want the discretion. We think it's important for our guests. We think it's important for the community. And we think that word of mouth will travel, and those people who seek out this form of entertainment will find us. So Our signage, we specifically don't say Stella's Gaming Cafe or Maxine's because we think it's important to be discreet.
Very good. I look forward to this concept moving on.
Great, thank you.
Trustee here.
I too, I like the concept of this. At first, I looked at this as well and I go, will this work in Wheeling? I can really see this working in Wheeling, especially at the Lake Hook and Milwaukee area around the hotel. It's elegant. It probably would fit in perfectly there. But I would also be in a favor of regulating the number of gaming licenses. Otherwise, if this town becomes, every restaurant has a gaming license, it defeats the purpose. Thank you.
Trustee, I'm sorry, Mr. Ferrillo.
On that issue, Trustee here, the state law which preempts our action allows up to 5 gaming locations in a facility. So 5 is the limit. I'm not sure that we can.
I mean, now village-wide though, how many? We'll have to set that. We can regulate that ourselves.
Well, no, the Video Gaming Act prohibits us from doing that. There can be, if we have 10 restaurants in town with liquor licenses, they all can apply for the license to operate video gaming. We don't issue licenses for that. All we do, we can charge a fee, but it's licensed through the state. So anybody with a liquor license that serves on site can apply for a state license. The state runs the vetting process and determines who qualifies for it.
Thank you.
Trustee Hein.
Thank you. Well, we all know that the primary business in this is the 5 machines that you're going to have in there. And you're going to be looking to operate from 7 a.m. to 2 a.m., it looks like.
Potentially. I mean, potentially. It may be during the week. It may be more like 8 to midnight or 1. It'll depend on the experience. But up to that or up to whatever the allowable liquor license hours are.
How many employees do you anticipate for each establishment?
We will have a total of 5 to 10 employees per establishment, not on at any one time. And at any one time, it'll be, I'd say, 2 to 5 employees.
Are you going to be in those 2 to 5 people that you're going to have there? Are you going to have anybody as designated as security?
They will be trained, on security matters, but we will not have security on premise. Again, based on the experience in Oregon and West Virginia, similar cafes, again, I don't think they're nearly as nice. I think they're more like Trustee Lang described. They're in, I'd say, 80-90% of grocery and shopping centers in those states. And there really are no issues around it. So we don't anticipate any issues. Having said that, it'll be part of our training.
I'm well aware of the 2 locations that you mentioned because when I heard that you folks were looking to come into our fine community, thank goodness for the computer and the web because a tremendous amount of information is applied both from Virginia and Oregon. The Village of Wheeling is all looking for new types of businesses and the wherewithal to keep them going in a good manner. I just want to make sure that when you folks, when we put this together, because we are putting together something relatively new, that we do it the right way also. And we don't want to put anybody in harm's way. And are you restricting the size of this? I noticed you went up to 2,000 square feet. What's the width of these about?
It varies. I mean, we have the locations here. The max is 2,000 square feet, and they're anywhere from 20 to 30 feet wide. Okay. I mean, actually, one of the locations may be even a little bit wider than that, but it's shallower. So, maybe up to 40 feet wide in one location. But most of the locations we are looking at are 20 to 30 feet.
Okay. Are you going to be looking for any more devices, the gambling devices, other than which you will?
No.
If somebody were to come up to you and want to talk to you about pinball machines and arcade machines and stuff like that, we're not going to do that, are we?
Absolutely not.
That's what I thought. What about off-track betting?
Nope. In fact, the legislation says that any gaming machines, whether it's in a restaurant or a gaming cafe, cannot be within 1,000 feet of an OTB. So actually, OTBs will not have gaming machines, and any establishment that's within 1,000 feet is not allowed to have gaming machines.
Thank you. That's all I have right now. Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Agiris?
Thank you. Nice concept. Sharp.
Right. Thank you.
My concern is, what about minors? 60% of the women that you talk about having young kids, are they going to be able to come into this establishment? And
No. This will be a 21 and over establishment strictly,
Good.
and we will police that very stringently. Again, it's a penalty for us. We could lose our license if minors are playing our game, so we will take that very seriously.
Very good. Thank you.
Well, the age limit's good. Well, we have this just as a discussion. We've come to the conclusion that we would like to see you go forward and see it done in the correct manner. We will be watching,
Of course.
and we are very stringent on what will go on, and we wish you a lot of success, as you will bring a lot of success to us here at the village. So
Great.
thank you very much.
Great. Well, thank you very much.
Item 13D, ordinance terminating an amended developer of record agreement with Urban R2 LLC for property comprising a part of the town center redevelopment project area TIF district in the village of Wheeling, Cook and Lake Counties, Illinois.
Mr. Ferrillo.
Thank you, Madam President. The ordinance before the board this evening would terminate the current developer of record agreement with Urban R2 as the exclusive developer of the Wicks property at 351 West Dundee Road. As a little bit of background, Urban R2 was selected as the developer of record as a result of an RFP issued in February of 2011. The original developer of record agreement called for a deadline of December 1st, 2011 to complete a redevelopment agreement, as well as for the developer to obtain final approval of a planned unit development. In October of 2011, Urban R2 requested an extension to this original deadline to March 31st, 2012, which was approved by the village board. In March of 2012, Urban R2 requested a second extension to obtain concept plan approval by July 31st, as they needed time to respond to interest from a movie theater operator to act as the anchor tenant for the development, which was also approved by the village board. On July 23rd, 2012, Urban R2 presented a concept plan to the village board, which was approved by the board. The current deadline that was obtained through the second extension is December 1st, 2012, by which to complete a redevelopment agreement and for Urban R2 to gain approval of its plan unit development, both preliminary and final approval. Based on what's been submitted to date, those dates are going to be obviously impossible to meet. Urban R2 is now requesting a third extension deadline to March 15, 2013 in order to obtain PUD approvals and the approval of a redevelopment agreement. That is the item before you tonight. Staff is prepared to answer any questions, and I believe the Urban R2 and their team is here as well.
Good evening, Madam President, and members of the Board of Trustees as well. My name is Gary Rosenberg. You haven't seen me here except in the background pretty much at the various sessions we've had so far. But I'm the founder of Urban R2 Development and its president. And some of you, I think, know my background, but I believe maybe most of you do not. I have been the developer of more planned unit developments throughout the country than any other living developer today. And I have never failed to complete a development project that I have started. And this is not going to be the first, trusting upon your good graces to give us the time to complete a truly great development for this village, which it deserves. Now, with regard to the status of the project, these are not simple projects. It's been made known to us clearly that the village wants a very strong anchor, has high interest in a strong entertainment venue, and many other facilities that are not that easy or that quick to accommodate, especially in a very difficult economy. Those facts notwithstanding, we have undertaken this opportunity with the belief that we could, within the time frames we had requested, put together a strong enough program ready to move forward. However, the economy did not move as quickly as it could. Our possible leases did not move as quickly as they could. And of course, this happens sometimes. The village had certain needs that we wanted to make adjustments for in our plans in order to provide the right quality development to the members of this community, to the people who live here, the people who work here, and those who visit here. What we have created is an extraordinary venue, one that will be not only very attractive to the people who work here and live here, but one that will place this village in a very unique class. It will create an identity that I believe, based upon our discussions with the various people around the community, it will give it an identity of which you can be very proud. I say that with great commitment and great pride because all of those dozens of planned unit developments that I've created throughout the country, every single one of them has been an award-winning development that people love living and working in and love visiting, and that generate a great deal of business activity and fine tax revenues. And we will do the same thing here, and that's why I came here tonight, so you could hear from me directly my personal commitment to make sure that this project happens and that this village gets what it deserves in terms of that first-class, exciting project that we've talked about from time to time before. Now, to facilitate that, we have made considerable progress recently in terms of the interest that we're be able to bring to the project from our potential tenants, especially commercial tenants, as well as having made arrangement for the financing for the project, and to follow up on that so that you can get a better insight into exactly where we stand on this project, so that if you do make a decision to terminate our developer record status, so that you fully understand what you're foregoing by making that decision, which of course I'm very prejudiced and biased. I believe it would be a tremendous loss to the village. We want to be a great positive factor, a great plus to the village, a great contributor to the village, as in every project I've been involved in has been the case. We don't want to be on the tail end of something that becomes a tragic loss to the village. Having said that, now I'll call upon the gentleman who has been the leader of this project to talk more specifically about the status of the project and to introduce to you our very capable and excellent and carefully selected team that will be executing on this project and will bring it to fruition in the ground in the not too distant future. Brad Friedman will explain to you where we're at and give you some sense for our time frame, our status at this point in time. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Board, for taking the time to hear us again. You've seen the site plan, and I just want to point out that since the last time we met, we have taken into consideration comments from the Board and comments from the Park District. to ease their concerns with regards to cross easements and in terms of bringing the residential project to front the Village Greenway and have interaction. As Gary had mentioned, we have made considerable progress with some of the retailers, including Kiefer's Steakhouse with their flagship location downtown. We have met with Glenn Kiefer, and he is very interested in this project, and he would love the opportunity to host anyone for lunch or dinner to get a better idea of his concept. He has tremendous outdoor seating, and he would like to expand on that for this location here based on what he's seen. To complement the high-end steakhouse, we've had conversations with Branch 27, a more family-oriented, value-oriented bar and grill restaurant. Additionally, I've met with Leslie Cahill, who is responsible for the French markets brought on by the Bensadoun Group. They have French markets in Lisle and Gurney and Winnetka and in Chicago, as well as New York and, of course, in France. And I have gone over this project with her in great detail, and she's very excited to be a part of the project. All of these parties are interested in just waiting for the project to get approved so they can continue to work with us and be a part of the plan. And lastly, the cinema, the entertainment venue, I just wanted to reiterate their commitment and let you know that they do have a lot of special events and community events and private events that are hosted. It's not just your run-of-the-mill theater. With that, I will take a minute just to introduce some of the team members that we have with us here tonight. Everyone is very dedicated to this project, including our architects from RTKL. They've been involved since day one, and they are ready to see this project move forward, and we have their full support. Patrick Murphy, a principal from RTKL, has been here before. We also have Wayne Kaplan, who is our retail leasing specialist with Sperry Van Ness here tonight, who is also committed to getting this project leased up and moving forward. And we have Mike Burney, who is representing Shane Bernie Banks, our attorneys, who are going to be very supportive and make sure that we get everything done and accomplished in a timely fashion. And lastly, Nick Ryan, who is the principal founder of Marquette Companies. We have been working with Marquette Companies on our downtown project, which is dubbed Catalyst. It's at the northeast corner of Washington and Des Plaines. It's a 223-unit luxury apartment building with a Walgreens on the ground floor. We are about to break ground within the coming weeks based on our foundation permit getting approved. So we have been working with the Marquette team for almost a year now. And together we have been able to obtain equity financing and a $48 million construction loan for the Catalyst project. And we intend on repeating that based on our relationship and everyone's interest in this project here. I wanted Nick to come up and introduce himself and talk about Marquette and their relationships with institutional equity partners and construction lenders and their ability to finance projects and move things along. So with that being said, Nick.
Good evening, Madam President and Village Trustees. My name is Nick Ryan, President of the Marquette Companies. We're a real estate investment and operating company with over $1.5 billion in assets throughout the country, including numerous properties in the Chicago area. I actually grew up in Mount Prospect and worked in Des Plaines, and I'm very familiar with your village, and we're very excited about this site. It's an extraordinary opportunity to do a smart growth mixed-use development. And we also operate about 9,500 luxury apartment communities throughout the country with a very high brand of service, a community life program, a We Cater program, intergenerational services. And we have basically met Urban R2 and Gary and Brad about a year ago, formed a venture with the Hunt Companies on Catalyst downtown, just acquired another property of the Hunt Companies at 1401 South State. We just broke ground on 2 suburban apartment communities in the last 60 days, one in Algonquin and one in North Aurora. As Gary mentioned, this past several years has been very difficult for development and financing, and I think that's probably the reason it's taken a little more time than you folks probably would have liked. However, the banks are now starting to lend, and as we said, we just brought JP Morgan Chase to finance the downtown development. We just broke ground with American National Life Insurance Company on a property in Algonquin, and we believe that the Hunt family is very interested in this property, and we'd love to do this with you. So thank you very much.
Do we have some questions? Trustee Lang.
Thank you. Well, I really like this project a lot. I believe in it. This has to be one of the only residential areas along the entire North Central Railroad that you can walk out your door and get onto that train, and then have plenty of entertainment options as well. What's our holdup, though? How are we at an impasse right now? Other than economy, I know economy's bad, but what?
That's a very easy question to answer. We have no holdup. We're ready to go forward. We've got our whole team together now. We have our financial sourcing available now. All we have to do is have enough time to work with the village staff to make sure we have everything worked out properly to go forward and get in the ground as quickly as possible.
And when you say quickly as possible, what do you anticipate still? I know we talked about this a few months back, but when do you anticipate all that coming together, financing in place and shovel in the ground?
I would.
Not an easy question, I know.
No, yeah, but we'll need about a 90-day extension to complete everything, to have the agreements with the village, the financing in place, everything of that sort. We should be able to get into the ground by next summer.
And you showed your cards today over to the residents of who is coming in.
Correct.
And you feel comfortable with that enough that these companies are in place and they're very solid.
Right. The only thing we need to complete in order to finalize the lease with Alamo is to complete the process with the village, so that we have our agreements in place with the village.
Well, the Alamo concept looks tremendous. I've researched it a bit, and I really think that this village needs something like that, and it would be very popular. How strong can that be as an anchor, if you would, to this project?
I totally agree with you, your sense of enthusiasm for that concept. It's an extraordinary concept. We knew that the kind of environment we wanted to create here for the village would involve an entertainment venue of some sort. And frankly, we searched far and wide to find a different entertainment venue than the typical thing of you'll get X number of screens and go to the movies. We wanted something that was much more interactive with the village and the village community. And the great thing about the Alamo is that they provide tremendous support for community activities and events and things of that sort. We were delighted when we found them. We were more delighted when we found that they were interested and that they were good to work with and would go forward with it. We feel great about it.
Thank you. I'm good with the extension.
Thank you. Trustee here.
Mr. Rosenberg, thank you so much for addressing us. I kind of wish you would have been here the last time we spoke, because it appears from your mouth to our ears that you're telling us the truth. I mean, and I appreciate that, you know, and it's like, because I know we've had these questions asked before, and from your understudy said that he had all these people lined up and this person can go, and everybody sat up here and said, you know what? The economy's gone south. How are these guys going to say that they're going to grab these people and bring them in for us? But your honesty, and you can really, truly tell that you're telling the truth to us, and you completely turned me around, to be honest with you, because I was going to vote no on this project. And, but it worked, because after seeing what you're seeing right now, I wouldn't mind going forward as well. But I still have my druthers, and I know my colleagues still like the Anchor as being the movie theater, but if you can get these other restaurants and other retail that you're talking about, I think it would make it a wonderful project. The other thing that needs to be addressed, and it's not your issue, but I think the train schedule as well needs to be run, because otherwise people will not move into that area because the trains run at infrequent times during the day. But thank you so much for coming in front of us.
Mr. Fundelis.
Thank you, Madam President. If it pleases the board, we have our financial consultant here this evening that I think can talk a little bit about this project and a realistic extension time period and what items need to be handled between now and whatever amount of time that the board gives. So I think this might be a good idea to hear from Mr. Laube and talk a little bit about financing and schedule. Peter, do you want to? Yeah. Do you want to add anything, or?
No, I think all the comments that you heard tonight were very pleasant. We're certainly, happy to work with Kiefer's and the other restaurants that were identified at the board meeting tonight. The question we've been trying to answer since the last presentation to this board from July 23rd was, how are you going to pay for this project? How is the financing going to work? What is the TIF structure going to be? We received a number of piecemeal submittals in September and October. We spent some time trying to vet, and I think there's a good opportunity, as the village manager indicated, for our TIF consultant, Mr. Laube, to characterize the quality and clarity of the information that we've received over the past several months, and to talk about next steps should the board choose to grant the extension.
Trustee Dearest, would you like to go or go after?
Sure, go after
Yes,
Mr.
please.
Laube. Go ahead.
Thank you.
Madam President, members of the board, my name is Mike Laube, for the record. We have received a fair bit of financial information from the developer. They've submitted it to us. They've submitted us a number of pieces of information. The last submittal was the most complete. It really contemplates approximately $12 million, a little bit less, of upfront village money. In order to really evaluate that, we would need to get into that. It's a very developer-friendly proposal in that in order to fund it and fund it in that time frame, it would really require a city GO backing of it. This deal is a complicated deal. I think they've provided enough information for us to evaluate it and to provide and work with staff to provide a counterproposal to it. The issues that we would need to address is, number one, developer financing, how the TIF will work in the context of the developer financing, the policy decision of the city's credit enhancement behind that, i.e. the GO, the conveyance of the land and any reverter on it should the developer not perform. My experience with this and all the defaults and everything that need to be worked out, notwithstanding worked out with the bank, would take longer than 90 days. So should the board choose to extend them, either you should extend them beyond 90 days, or in all likelihood, there would be another extension request at that point in time. So that's been my evaluation to date.
Thank you. Trustee Dearest.
Well, that changed my thought of questioning.
Yeah, why didn't you come up earlier?
Well, I'm glad I waited. Well, first of all, if that's the case, I am totally against a general obligation bond to fund any development in this community. Right. Any bonding that this community has done in the past has always been based on that development and a revenue bond. I'd be very uneasy to go out there and stick our necks out to the taxpayers here for $12 million.
Right.
Where if this thing goes defunct, the taxpayers are stuck with it. So I'm not for that. We didn't do it for the Westin. We haven't done it for any of these properties in this town.
And Trustee, just to be fair to that comment, that was the original developer's proposal. Any deal would be somewhere in the middle, and we would have to work that out.
Well, you know what? The village has a $4 million investment there already. And I remember when the developer had come before us a couple years ago, even though the economy was tough, didn't seem financing was going to be an issue. I can remember those words, and I think everybody on this board remembers those words, and all of a sudden, we got a $12 million issue. I got a real problem with that, fellas, I really do. And I don't understand this piecemealing analogy that you make, that we're getting things piecemealed. I mean, the numbers are the numbers, constructions are the numbers, the increment is this, the request is that. There's a $4 million land acquisition there that has to take into consideration. Anything you call upfront $12 million, it's going to be very hard pressed to do, in my opinion. Based on a new concept of a theater, based on getting some restaurants in town, even though they're nice and the concept is neat with the theater, but it's a heck of a risk to take and throw it on the burden of the taxpayers. I will never vote for that. Never vote for that. Never on a GO bond. No way. That's all I had.
Madam President, one more.
Trustee Vogel?
I have to agree that the GO is a complete surprise to me that this concept suddenly came up, so no, I can't go along with that either.
Trustee, here you had another.
Yeah, I just was going to say, that spins this thing completely in the opposite direction. So I'm surprised that we didn't hear this at the beginning, before we had an opportunity to talk. So in the future, bring this guy up first.
Do you have anything else?
Well, agreed. The GO bond is problematic right now. I agree with Trustee Argyris on that 100%. But that's in negotiation as well. So you haven't countered yet on that point, and the developer, and I look forward to hearing your counter on that.
Thank you.
May I say something?
Yes.
I think in light of everything else, it's one or two things, Madam President. Either the deal goes south and we go out for a new RFP, or based on just being nice guys, we give them to March, and that's it. And if the financial structure doesn't change, there is no extension. Don't even come here and make that argument. But I think at this stage of the game, with the holidays and the winter coming and everything else, it's going to take us 90 days to 120 days to go out for a new RFP anyway, and to start the process over. I mean...
Excuse me, I got in the game a little late, I guess, and I was talking with the developer, and I guess that was the original proposal, was a GO bond, but that wasn't our thinking. So we have done TIFs that aren't GO-backed. It's basically relying on the revenues of the project, and I think that's the way we'd like to go forward. And realistically, it is going to take more than 3 months to complete the entire package. There's no way you're going to design a project, bid it, get all the financing done, get a closing occur within 90 days. That's impossible.
Well,
so I agree with you that
your personal financing is going to be based on the TIF analysis. It's going to be based on what the village is going to, the increment that they're, not the increment, but the incentive that they're trying to give you.
Sure.
I mean, your financing is all tied into that.
Sure.
And an RDA, I mean, a redevelopment agreement. And let's be honest, that's all tied into your financing. So you're putting the cart before the horse. You got to get the horse first before you move the cart.
Absolutely.
And I don't see this happening here.
So I think it basically is working through the planning issues, the development issues, and then the finance package, or however that's working without a GO, all can be done kind of in a coordinated fashion. And I think it's realistically going to take 180 days, in my opinion, to get that all done and break ground. Probably the end of June or so is realistic. And that's what I would recommend, it. You give the developer an extension for 180 days, and the GO part is not part of it.
Mr. Furlow.
I have a suggestion. Perhaps, Madam President, if you agree, you can ask for a consensus on the termination. If there is not that consensus, table that ordinance. Don't vote on that. And rather than extend the RDA, the developer of record agreement as it exists, direct staff to draft a new developer of record agreement that only goes through March, based on the provision of a term sheet that the village agrees to. In other words, if we cannot reach agreement on a term sheet, then you'd terminate then. We now have a developer of record agreement that requires an RDA and all zoning to be done at the same time. It's not going to happen. 6 months to get that done is really pushing it. I think what we're coming down to is, can we agree on the financial terms here? And in 90 days, I think, Mike Lauby, we can probably get to the point where we present terms to the village board, and the village board can either say yes or no to those terms. A term sheet like we've done before.
Right.
A non-binding term sheet. If it's a no, at that point, the exclusivity developer of record agreement would end. So again, to summarize, perhaps a motion to table the ordinance, direct staff to draft a new developer of record agreement that relates strictly to a term sheet by a date that this whole board thinks is realistic. And by doing that, they're not biting off everything at once, and neither is this board. I know there's interest in that site from the market. We've received calls unsolicited, so you have to keep that in mind too.
Right.
Because we're not able to do it.
Right. So that's my suggestion for going forward.
Without PUD, correct?
I think
No, simply a term sheet without PUD.
I think that's fair.
Yeah.
If I may, I just wanted to clarify a couple of things here. We were working with a TIF consultant that was brought on to us by Three Corners Development, and we had been in discussions with this group contemplating a joint venture partnership on this project. As it turns out, we've been working with Marquette. They have expressed interest as well, and their approach is vastly different from what was originally proposed to Mr. Laube in terms of the financial structure and approach. And now that we have solidified our joint venture agreement with Marquette, the approach for the TIF financing will be drastically different, and it will mirror what the Marquette company did with their Water Street project in downtown Naperville, which does not consist of the GO bonds. So I just wanted to get that out there.
So, Mr. Ferrillo, again, you're suggesting to do the ordinance.
Table the ordinance.
And table the ordinance at this point.
Right.
And have a suggestion.
Then direct staff, if it's acceptable to the board, to work on an amended developer of record agreement that relates strictly to the requirement that a term sheet be agreed upon by the parties no later than March 1st in order for this developer to retain exclusive status.
The hardest part is with the exclusive status, because we get some calls and they're not able to say, I'm sorry, we have someone that is exclusive, and that's what's made this project very hard of not seeing it go forward.
Well, it's do or die in the next 90 days. Then we move forward.
90 days is going to be very difficult.
Well,
For a
at least
term
they'll
sheet,
have
for a
numbers,
term sheet,
though.
nothing.
For
It's
their
gonna be the-
But
term
the
sheet's
term-
not going to be bad.
Right.
They can get that done in 90 days.
So do we have
Motion to table.
a motion to table by trustee Adjuris?
Second.
Second by trustee Here. Roll call, please.
Trustee Here?
Yes.
Trustee Hein?
Yes.
Trustee Adjuris?
Yes.
Trustee Vogel?
Yes.
Trustee Lang?
Yes.
President Evans-Scotto?
Yes.
Now we need a
So
motion.
we have,
I think I understand the board's direction.
Okay. Thank you.
thank you.
Reprieve from the governor.
So we have official communication tonight. Two things in particular. Hope we're all ready for November 25th. The lighting of the lights with our favorite people are going to be there. Mr. and Mrs. Claus are going to be there. Wheeling High School band members are going to be there. The village board will be there to turn on the lights. There'll be hot chocolate and cookies. And the lighting of the holiday lights will then proceed. And that, you know, will be at the northeast corner of Dundee and Milwaukee Avenue at our Friendship Park. So we hope those that are out there listening, and to all of you that are here, don't forget to tell your friends, your relatives, everybody, because it's really an enjoyable time, and it's a good time for the children. We have Mr. and Mrs. Claus have been waiting all year in order to bring some cheer to the children. So we hope that all of you will be in attendance. I also would like to say a very happy and blessed Thanksgiving, and we hope that your day and your coming weeks will be a blessed and happy day, starting with Thanksgiving on Thursday. Do we have any other, if not,
So moved.
we have the approval of the bills.
So moved.
Motion made by trustee here, second by trustee Hein. Roll call, please.
Trustee here,
Yes.
trustee Hein,
Yes?
trustee Burgess.
Yes.
Trustee Vogel,
Yes.
trustee Lang,
Yes.
President Evascado.
Yes, since we have no executive session, do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by trustee Yadira, second by trustee here. Roll call, please.
Trustee here,
Yes.
trustee Hein,
Yes.
trustee Burgess.
Yes.
Trustee Vogel,
Yes.
trustee Lang,
Yes.
President Evascado.
Yes.